Thank you, my viewers. I wish to welcome all of you to this very week special edition, How to Craft an Effective Business Model. On our entrepreneurial journey, we have discussed a number of topical issues, and today we are going to look at another very important subject matter. So, to go into the nitty-gritty of today's topic, let's set some objectives for ourselves, objectives we will hope to achieve at the close of the tutorial. The first thing we will look at on the objective is to describe a business model. The second thing we'll be looking at is the importance of having a clearly articulated business model. Then we shall discuss the concept of the value chain. The fourth issue we will look at are some of the potential flaws of a business model. We'll also try to identify the major components in or what constitute the business model, the major component that constitute the business model. We'll look at them. So these are the primary issues that we are going to be discussing in today's topic. Having said that, let us start by asking ourselves what a business model is. What is a business model? We cannot define a business model sufficiently if we don't know what a model is. So talking about a business model, let's start by defining what a model is. A model is a plan or diagram that is used to make or describe something. It can be an illustration that you are using to describe something. It can be a diagram, it can be a plan. So having understood what a model is, we will then define a business model as a plan or diagram or an illustration that you, the business, have put together to show how you are going to compete in your marketplace, how you are going to use your resources, structure your relationship, interface with customers, and create value to sustain yourself on the basis of the profits you are going to generate. The term business model is used to include all the activities that define how your firm competes in the marketplace. So if you look at the file that I sent you, you look on page 2, you'll find a diagram, a sample diagram of a business model that has about 9 interfaces. This sample diagram that has 9 interfaces, we are going to break it down into 4 major components, which we shall be discussing in the short term. So, talking about the business model, what is the importance of having a clearly articulated business model? What is the importance for that? 1, the business model, if you have it in place, it serves as an ongoing extension of feasibility analysis. We have carried out a feasibility analysis. We've learned how to go about it. And I said, once you are satisfied with all the outcomes, the things that you try to evaluate, to check whether the ideas are viable and they are deemed fit to be pursued, you proceed with drafting of your business plan. Having drafted your business plan, you need to have a model in place, but which is going to help you show how you are going to propose value to your customers and derive some form of profit on the basis of that. So in so doing, when it comes to the business model, it is just like a continuation of the feasibility analysis. So a business model continually asks the question that this business makes sense. And don't forget, when we came to the feasibility analysis, that was one of the primary questions that we had to ask. Does the business, does it make sense? These ideas that you are trying to pursue, develop products or advanced services for, are they worth pursuing? Do they make sense? So this is what will help you to identify the value addition needed at each step of the value delivery. The second importance of having a clearly defined business model is that the business model Focus, it helps you to focus your attention on how all the elements of your business fit together and constitute a working whole. That is the holistic view of the entire business. 3, you are able to describe why the network of participants, right, is willing to work together, needed to make a business idea viable. Why? The 4th importance is the business model helps you to articulate your company's core logic to all your stakeholders, including your employees. That is the reason for your existence. The reason for your existence, that your mission, your company's mission. That is what the business model helps you to do. And it's very important to understand these elements as we proceed. Now, talking about the business model, there are diversity in the models. We don't have one size fits all type of business model for all types of businesses. We do not, because you know the target market you want or you are proposing a value for within your given industry. However, over time, the business model that you craft, if it is a successful one, it will predominate and sustain itself. But if it is a weaker one, you will lag behind. So there are always opportunities for business model innovation, which you can always be open for. So you cannot adapt one that belongs to another company and think that is a standard for you. Some may apply, but not everything that a particular company is following can help or can fit your very purpose, because your drive, your passion, and your competence are some of the underlying issues that you have to pay attention to. Now, talking about the business model, how does it emerge? How did the business model philosophy actually come to emerge? It emerged through what we call the value chain proposition. So the value chain now serves as a diagnostic tool. The value chain is the string of activities that moves the product from the raw material stage through manufacturing and distribution and ultimately to the end user. So by studying a product or a service value chain, your organization can identify ways you can create additional value and assess whether it has the means to do so. Value chain analysis is also helpful in identifying opportunities for your new business. So you are talking about the value chain. It includes the supporting activities and then the primary activities that you engage to deliver value to the customer. So entrepreneurs look at the value chain of a product or a service to pinpoint where the value chain can be made more effective, or to spot where additional value can be created. This type of analysis may focus on 1, a single primary activity such as marketing and sales. You can also look at the interface between one stage of the value chain and another, such as the interface between operations and outgoing logistics. One of the supporting activities, such as human resource management, can also be given a very crucial attention. The problem that arises with a business model is, for instance, when you misread your customers, the needs of your customers, when you are not responsive enough and efficient in the marketplace. These actually become a fatal flaw that undermines your business model. Another danger is that when you advance an unsound economy, right? That is, you make high investment and your profit turns out to be insignificant. These undermine your prospect or the prospect of your business model. And so you will need to look at these closely and carefully. So talking about it, what are the components of the business model that you have to pay attention to? There are 4 basic components of the business model. These include your core strategy, your strategic resources, your partnership network, and then your customer interface. Let's look at these. So when you talk about a core strategy, the first component of your is the first component of your business, and this is what describes how your firm competes, right, relative to your competitors. How you are going to compete. So the primary element of your core strategy should include 1, your mission statement, your product market scope, and then the basis for your differentiation. So once you are talking about your core strategy, clearly define these primary elements. Give some detailed attention to them, because they will help you. That is how you'll be able to find out if you are grounded enough or you need to do more to stand. So talking about your mission statement, then we are talking about why you exist. You should be able to tell why you exist and what your business model is supposed to accomplish. Why do you exist? These are the primary questions that you have to ask yourself. So once you are talking about your mission statement, the first thing you have to clear about is, why do I exist? Describe why you are existing. And tell what your business model is poised to accomplish. Your reason for existence should be very clear. The second element, primary element to talk about as part of your core strategy, is the product market scope. So your company's product or market scope defines the product and market on which it will concentrate. And these have to do with what we call the value to be delivered. So what are the value you want to deliver to your target market? It is a very important thing to figure out clearly before you start pushing and investing so much money into your business. What will constitute your basis of differentiation? How are you going to differentiate yourself from similar companies or firms or ventures that are already within the market space or operating within the market space? So it is important that as a new venture, you differentiate yourself from your competitors in some way that is important to your customers. The reason is, if a firm's product or service are not different from those of your competitors, the question you have to ask yourself is, why should someone or anyone try to buy them or try them? If your product or your service is not different from all other services or product, why should someone try them? So your differentiation strategies need to be well prepared. Are you going to employ what we call the cost leadership strategy, where you are going to use cost efficiency to drive your product sales in the market space? Or you are going to focus on a specific niche, like Nike, that will focus on sportmen and women? Or you are going to dwell on innovation to be or to serve as your basis of differentiation? It is important to be clear about this. Having spoken about the core strategy, you now need to think about your strategic resources. A firm is not able to implement a strategy without resources. So, what are your resources? Because the strategy you have in place, if you don't have resources to implement them, it remains a dormant idea. You cannot break through whatever you are poised to do. So the resources your firm has affect your business model to a large extent. For new ventures, Probably you have started a new venture and you are the one of a special interest, and you are the one encouraging me to bring to you this particular lecture. So a new venture, oftentimes your strategic resources may be limited to your competencies. So if you are one founder, it may be limited to you, the competencies of you, the founder. Maybe you are a group of entrepreneurs, then it will be limited to your competencies. And then the opportunities you have identified. What are the opportunities you have identified that you want to deliver some solution for, or you want to exploit? Then the unique way you plan to serve your market. These become your strategic resources. Your competencies, or the competencies of you, the founders, the opportunities you have identified, and then the unique way you plan to serve the market. So this actually underlines what I will call the two most important strategic resources. So the core competencies and the strategic asset or unique resources. Then we have what we call the capability, strategic capability. What is it? When we talk about strategic capability, then we are talking about the resources and the competencies of your organization needed for it to survive and prosper. And there are thresholds for that. So let me repeat that again. The resources and competencies of your organization or of an organization needed for the organization to survive and prosper. They become your strategic capability. Do you have that? So talking about core competencies, let's try to discuss the issue more closely. Core competencies are the skills and abilities by which resources are deployed through your organization's activities and processes, such as to achieve competitive advantage in ways that others cannot imitate or obtain. One of the issues that you should be concerned about is the challenge of imitation or copying. Is it easy for your business to be imitated? Then think through. Is it easy for it to be imitated? So if it is easy to be imitated, redefine your core competencies very well. So it is always important to know your core competencies and make sure that your skills and abilities, the skills and abilities you have to deploy your resources, right, to deliver some value to your customers are always on point. That is what should help you to achieve a competitive advantage. Now let's look at some example. Honda, for example, has its core competence in efficient engines. What about Dell? Dell computers. Their core competence is the supply chain management. So the ability to use their strategic resources. Now talking about strategic assets or unique resources, then we are referring to anything that is rare and valuable that your firm owns. These can include plants and equipment or your location. Your location can be a strategic asset. Think of a Shell Global. Their locations, their partnerships, they are all strategic assets that they use to operate their partnership around the globe. So plants, location, your brand, your patents, your customer data, and then your highly qualified staff or distinctive partnership. All of these can serve as your strategic asset. I just mentioned to you Shell Global. So, talking about these issues, the importance of strategic resources are numerous. One of it is that new ventures ultimately try to combine their core competencies and strategic assets to create a sustainable competitive advantage. That's one of the importance of strategic resources. The second importance is this factor is one that investors pay close attention to when evaluating a business. They pay attention to your strategic resources when they are evaluating your business as to whether it is worth adopting, investing into. So it is very important to always look at your strategic resources. A sustainable competitive advantage can only be achieved by implementing a value-creating strategy that is unique and not easy to imitate. This type of advantage is achievable when your firm has strategic resources and the ability to use them effectively. That is, the ability to use your essential resources. These are the essential issues. These are the important issues that you don't need to overlook. Let's look at the third component of the business model. And this is what we refer to as the partnership network. New ventures in particular typically do not have the resources to perform certain key roles. In most cases, a business does not want to do anything or everything itself because the majority of tasks needed to build a product or deliver a service are not called to the company's competitive advantage. However, occasionally, a non-core activity can give you a competitive advantage. So your first partnership needs to be looked at closely. Firm partnership can include suppliers and other key relationships. So talking about the network structure of your partnership network, the network structure has to do with the structure that will manage the diverse, complex, and dynamic relationship among multiple organizations or units. So within organizations, if you have units or different units that will be set up to undertake a particular task to deliver a particular value, the relationship, okay, the interactions that will exist between these units, with each of the units specializing in a particular business function, is what is going to deliver for you. For example, if you're a producer organization, you will need to partner with designer organizations. Or if you're a producer organization, then you should have other units that should be responsible of designs. So if you don't have a design unit and there are partner organizations, you go and partner with them. Or you have organizations that specialize in designing, you partner with them. Then you, the producing organization, you also need to be able to partner with traders organizations. Your network can also include distributor organizations or supplier organizations. And if you have all of these units within your company, you're good to go. If you don't have them, and there are other companies specializing in these areas, why not move along and partner with them? So when we talk about suppliers, we are talking about services, okay, or companies that provide parts or services to your company. Dell, for instance, has Intel as their suppliers. So Intel supply their computer chips for them. So think about it. Then we'll talk about other key relationships. Firm partners with other companies to make their business model work. That is the underlying factor. You need to partner with other businesses just to make your business work. So an entrepreneur's ability, your ability to launch your firm to achieve a competitive advantage may depend as much as on the skills of the partners you engage with and the partner's skill within the firm or industry, whether through indirect channels or through intermediaries. These are very important. So partnership network can include joint ventures, networks, strategic alliances, trade associations, and then consortiums. Any of these that you find plausible, partner with them, go into some form of agreement to deliver your intended values to your target market. We'll talk lastly about the customer interface, which is a very important aspect of the business strategy or core business model strategy. Now, talking about your customer interface, we are looking at the way your firm interact with your customers, right? The way your firm choose to interact with your customers. And these depend on how you choose to compete. For example, look at Amazon.com. They choose to sell their books through the internet. Another prominent company or book selling company, that is Barnes and Noble, they decide to sell through their traditional bookstore and online. Think about Kingdom Books. They decide to sell through their stores. So, how do you choose to compete in your market space to deliver your value or to have your value delivered directly to your customers? There are three elements that a company's customer interfaces, and these include: one, the target customer, fulfillment and support, price and model. Talking about target market, we are talking about the limited group of individuals or businesses that you go after or try to appeal to. They are limited group of individuals or companies that you or your company or your venture try to go after or try to appeal to. Then you think about fulfillment and support. After your customers have received your product or your service, think about how fulfilled they become or they are. So talking about fulfillment and support, we are describing the way your firm's product or service reaches your customers. And this also refers to the channels your company use and what level of customer support your company provides, or that will be provided for the particular service or product. Then you talk about the pricing structure. The pricing structure constitutes the third element of your company's customer interface. And the pricing model depends on your firm's target market and your pricing philosophy. This is what I have brought you today. And it is always important to be efficient in designing something that works for you. And what works will sustain itself. What doesn't work will drag the company behind. The primary issue is that focus to make sure the value you intend to deliver reach your target market and deliver unto you what we expect. We shall continue on subsequent topics in our subsequent lecture discussions. If you have enjoyed this particular lecture or section, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, like the video, and then click on the notification bell to have all new videos that will be dropped online later or that will be published on my channel later. Thank you very much. Meet you same time next week.